Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I apologize if we're running a little late. Finally, and perhaps why we're so well attended today, the Board of Governors approved the plan of expansion that will bring a National Hockey League franchise to Las Vegas, beginning with the 2017-18 season. In the fall of 2017, when we celebrate the 100th birthday of the National Hockey League, we will do so as a league of 31 teams. The vote required to approve the recommendation of the Executive Committee was 3/4. The actual vote was unanimous. The expansion fee, it was $500 million US. This expansion, our first since the 1997 expansion that rolled out 4 new teams over 3 seasons, follows months of extensive study, discussion, and deliberation involving a fair number of constituent groups. In particular, I thank the board and Chairman Jeremy Jacobs, from whom you'll hear from in a moment, the Executive Committee, Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly, and Chief Legal Officer David Zinnerman for their focused attention to all of the details on what was a fairly intense and complicated process. The result of that collaboration is the league's first expansion under the current economic system and the arrival of the first major professional sports team in the vibrant, growing global destination city that is Las Vegas. We think this is a tremendously exciting opportunity, not just for Las Vegas, but for the league as well. This expansion comes at a time when our game is more competitive than ever, ownership is stronger than ever, the player base is more talented than ever, and the business and the future opportunities for the business are greater than ever. This expansion is also our first in the digital media era. As I mentioned, our prior expansion was announced in 1997 and completed by 2000. This was before Facebook, this was before Twitter, this was before iPhones and iPads, before the NHL Network and a host of other transformational digital advancements that deliver content and exposure to a broader audience more than ever. And so this will perhaps be the most covered expansion in our history. And in that vein, we wanted to ensure that the new team will have better access to players than any of its expansion predecessors. And while each of our current clubs will lose 1 player, the requirements of the expansion drafting process will prevent, I'm sure, any violations or circumventions, or for lack of a better word, shenanigans. The team coming into the most competitive league in sports will have a roster that will be competitive more quickly than any prior expansions. The Las Vegas team, owned principally by Bill Foley and joined by members of the Maloof family, will play its home games at T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas. It is a great new venue, and it was built with hockey in mind. The board also decided to defer the application of Quebec City. There is no doubt as to the passion for hockey, particularly NHL hockey in Quebec City. There is no doubt as to the suitability of the Videotron Center as a home arena for a team. And there is no doubt regarding the ownership credentials or the eagerness to own an NHL team of Quebec Corps, which has been an outstanding league partner. These components, the ones within the control of the Quebec City applicant, are first rate, and I want to thank former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney and Pierre Dion of Quebec Corps for the thoroughness of their application and their cooperation throughout this process. The decision to defer, however, was based on elements over which the Quebec City group had no control whatsoever. Significantly, the fluctuation of the Canadian dollar throughout the process, including its decline to a low of 68 cents earlier this year, was a factor. In considering both applications for expansion, it was a priority of the board to create conditions that would place an incoming club or clubs in the best position to exceed on an expedited basis. Unfortunately, the state and volatility of the Canadian dollar undermined the achievement of that objective relative to the Quebec City bid. Moreover, the league's geographic imbalance with 16 teams already in the Eastern Conference and 14 now to be 15 teams in the Western Conference undermined the achievement of that objective relative to Quebec City's application as well. In addition, the board concluded that based on the process that will be used for stocking rosters, the best interest of the league and all teams would be served by limiting the number of incoming clubs to one at this juncture. And it is for all these reasons that the Quebec City application is being deferred. So today's vote by the board stamps a formal end to this expansion process, the 8th in NHL history. The process began just 2 days short of a year ago when the board authorized an examination as to whether any expansion was appropriate. The strength of the Las Vegas bid, the success of the ticket drive, and the unique appeal of the market led the Executive Committee and subsequently the Board of Governors to determine expansion not only is appropriate, but is important to the league's continued growth and momentum. On February 10th, 2015, Bill Foley asked if I would attend a news conference he put together in order to announce a season ticket drive. He told me at the time he wanted to take the temperature of the market here with regard to NHL hockey. Well, today, the temperature in this market is about 115 degrees, which means the prospects of Las Vegas hosting an outdoor game aren't too favorable at the moment, but they're in great shape when it comes to hosting indoor games at T-Mobile Arena. And we think the franchise will be in great shape with Bill Foley as the owner. I applaud his passion for hockey and for hockey in Las Vegas. I appreciate his persistence and his patience in pursuit of a franchise. Bill worked hard for this moment, and he didn't put so much time, effort, and money into this project without a determination to make it successful. The name of Bill's website is, or was, VegasWantsHockey.com. Starting today, Vegas has hockey, NHL hockey. And since there are already skeptics as to whether this is the time or the place for the world's top professional hockey league to position a team, let's just remember that during this past regular season, 3 teams from California led the Pacific Division, and the San Jose Sharks reached the Stanley Cup Final. 2 teams from Florida led the Atlantic Division. The Dallas Stars were the Western Conference regular season champions. And at the NHL draft in Buffalo this weekend, I anticipate welcoming a young man from Scottsdale, Arizona, Austin Matthews, to the NHL very early in the first round. Austin fell in love with hockey when he was taken to a Phoenix Coyotes game as basically a toddler. You know the rest, and you know that each of the franchises I just mentioned has worked hard to create hockey traditions in their markets. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes commitment, and Bill Foley has what it takes to do that. With Nevada youth hockey registration up 37% in the past decade, with the total number of hockey players increasing nearly 50% in the same time, both figures according to USA Hockey, I am not sure that it's a stretch to envision a time when draft-worthy players hail from here, joining Jason Zucker of the Minnesota Wild, who spent most of his first 11 years here and caught the hockey bug here. This is, to say the least, a fascinating time for the NHL. We are delighted that Las Vegas will be a part of our exciting future. It's now my pleasure to invite the chairman of the NHL Board of Governors, Mr. Jeremy Jacobs, to introduce and welcome Bill Foley. Thank you, Bill.
Well, Wow, thanks everybody. Thank you, Jeremy, Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner. Well, Las Vegas, we did it. Wasn't easy, was it? The NHL stands for the proposition that hockey is for everyone, and that's exactly what we're going to be about here in Las Vegas. Our great sports town now has a major league franchise, the NHL. It's the best of the leagues. It's a legendary league. Las Vegas is my home along with 2.3 million other people. We want everyone to be a fan. We're dedicated to it. We'll leave no stone unturned in our dedication, our pursuit of hockey in Las Vegas, not just for our team, but for the community. My obligation is to hold this team in trust for the community. I'm the owner, but I do it on behalf of the community. For the parents, for their kids, for our schools, we will have significant community outreach. We want to promote youth hockey. I played hockey as a kid in Canada. Called it shiny hockey on the ponds. Boy, it was fun. I want all of our kids here in Las Vegas to enjoy hockey the way I enjoyed it. We'll have a practice facility, first class, open to all. The team has already been supportive of charities and will continue to be supportive. We've made a partnership with Opportunity Village, and we intend to adopt a charity known as the Folded Flag Foundation, which supports widows or surviving spouses and children of servicemen and women killed in combat. It gives them a stipend to survive and also a scholarship program. Very dear to my heart. I wish I could thank every season ticket holder individually, and I will certainly want to thank our fans for our team that doesn't have a name yet, but we will. I want to get to know all of our fans, and I want to get to know all of you even more. We're planning a big celebration. We're going to wait till it cools off, and maybe in conjunction with our launch of our tickets and our actual seats, and that may be around September or so. But now I want to thank a few of the people who have been behind this effort and have stood with me, really, for the last 2.5 years. My wife Carol and my kids, the Maloof family, great friends, Gavin, Joe, and George. Commissioner, your entire staff has been very helpful, very supportive, and have helped us work through this process. The Las Vegas Founding 75, which really created that drive and got us the first initial wave of ticket sales. Governor Brian Sandoval, who did a video, which we presented to the executive committee, which was very effective. My good friend, Chairman Steve Sisolak, who has been with us all the way, every step of the way, and now I just need a little help getting that practice facility jammed through the county. Mayor Carolyn Goldman, Commissioner Susan Brager, and a few of the local businessmen who have been really supportive and helpful, like Steve Wynn, who's, of course, the owner of this great hotel. From MGM, Jim Murin, Bill Hornbuckle, Sheldon Adelson, AEG, Phil Anschutz, Dan Beckerman. Commissioner Bettman, thank you very much for bringing the first NHL team to this great city, the first Major League sports team. And just one last final thought. Beat Navy all the time. But not too bad. We're going to need them later. Thank you.
Welcome. I'd now like to invite the CEO of Quebecor, Pierre Dion, to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Gary. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Bill Foley and the city of Las Vegas. On behalf of Quebecor, I wish you, Bill, great success in the NHL. I'm happy to share with you that your first game at the T-Mobile Arena will be broadcasted on our own sports channel, TVA Sports. I want to thank the Commissioner for his kind words about Quebecor, Quebec City, and the Videotron Center. The strong relationship we have built with the NHL over the last few years is very important to us. I also want to thank the NHL Executive Committee and the Board of Governors for their consideration. It's been a pleasure meeting all of you, and we intend to continue building these valuable relationships going forward. The expansion process conducted over the past year gave us an excellent opportunity to present our business plan and promote Quebec City as a city that can support an NHL franchise. Bringing the Nordiques back to Quebec City remains a priority for Québécois. As you all know, we love the game. We will continue to work with determination to achieve this goal. As you stated, Gary, we will keep talking, and we look forward to continuing the discussion with the NHL. People in Quebec City are still very passionate about the Nordiques. Even though the team left more than 20 years ago, the Nordiques remain very much part of their daily discussions and hopes. Now I want to say a few words in French to our fans, many of whom are gathered watching this press conference right now. À tous les partisans des Nordiques qui nous écoutent, je sais que vous êtes déçus en ce moment. Je sais aussi que les Nordiques, c'est votre équipe, qu'ils continuent de faire partie de votre vie quotidienne malgré leur départ en mai 1995 et que vous souhaitez tellement fort leur retour. L'objectif que nous partageons ensemble de ramener les Nordiques de Québec est trop important pour baisser les bras maintenant. Nous avons besoin de votre appui et de votre passion, car c'est ensemble que nous allons y arriver. Ce processus d'expansion a été une étape, mais ce n'est pas la fin. Comme l'a mentionné le commissaire, nous allons poursuivre nos discussions avec la Ligue nationale de hockey. Merci de votre support. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the NHL awards tonight. Gary?
Thank you, Pierre. Bill Daly, Deputy Commissioner, is going to join me on the podium because something tells me you may have some questions. And when we're done, Bill Foley will come up as well to answer whatever questions you may have of him. So, and if there are no questions, we'll leave.
We on?
There you go.
Hi, Gary. Steve Carpenter, Las Vegas Review-Journal. 2 questions for you. Why did you believe in the Las Vegas market as strongly as you did? And 2, how hard was it building consensus among the 30 owners over the many months of this process?
Well, let me take the second part of the question first. I know there was a lot written, particularly in the last couple of months, that somehow this had become a contentious process. Nothing could be further from the truth. It was extraordinarily collaborative, both among the governors, particularly with the executive committee, and with the applicants. The fact of the matter is there were things that needed to be done in terms of due diligence and satisfying ourselves as to making sure we needed to understand everything we could. And there were other conditions and agreements that had to be worked on as well, some of which took time. But I think while it wasn't necessarily at the pace that many of you in the media thought it should be, we thought the pace was appropriate and deliberative, particularly on an important business decision. The Las Vegas market was intriguing. The worldwide recognition that this city has, the fact that it spotlights entertainment, excitement, and fun in ways that are perhaps unique in the world, we viewed as an opportunity. And I cannot overstate the importance that the season ticket drive had. The success that it had really got everybody's attention, because being a unique market, that no matter how you broke down the statistics and the demographics and everything else you generally look at on these things, people were focused on the fact that this is a unique market. But demonstrating that there's a community here of people that are looking for the things that you find in other communities that aren't like Las Vegas with the Strip and everything else, I think made an important impression. You want to add anything?
I mean, the local sport, obviously evidenced by the fan base, but also the support from the casinos in town, from the state and local government. everybody was very supportive of this application.
Gary, you touched on it a little bit in your remarks, but how different is the landscape and the business of professional sports in the 19 years since the league expanded?
Well, basically, one thing that doesn't change is the product that you put out there has to be first rate. It has to be competitive. It has to be entertaining. We believe we have the best competitive balance in all of sports, and what we've been able to achieve with the system we have in place over the last decade plus has made the league stronger. We have the strongest ownership that we've ever had. Has the media landscape changed? Absolutely. And fans expect and deserve greater connectivity, a greater ability to get what they want, when they want, how they want it. And so we've spent a great deal of time, money, and effort trying to be as cutting edge and on top of things as possible to give our fans the best possible experience. But there is no doubt that hockey fans, in addition to the other demographic aspects that we brag about, tend to be the most passionate at all of sports wherever they're located. Having an opportunity to again respond to that interest in a market that not only doesn't have professional hockey but doesn't have professional sports, we think was a great opportunity.
Hi, Gary. Kevin Allen, USA Today. I know you said you've closed off this round of expansion, but given all the talk about geography, was there kind of a discussion or a commitment to a long-range plan of finding a 32nd team that is in the West? And maybe connected to that question as well, you know, you said Quebec is sort of deferred. That implies it's sort of open-ended. Was there any thought to what the time frame would be to revisit them?
You want to go first? This will probably require both of us.
No, there's no formal plan with respect to beyond today. As Gary said, we've now closed this chapter. We move on to the next chapter. Obviously, the Quebecor application was impressive enough that you know we've put it on hold. And as we told the board, and actually the board embraced the fact that it continues to represent a prime opportunity for the league. Given different circumstances. And with respect, you want to answer the second part, which is West? No,
Well, there isn't some grand plan. I know there was speculation that we're targeting this city or that city. This city doesn't have an arena or a prospect of one. We haven't been focused on this. That city, you know, doesn't have arena access. It's not that we've decided we're staking out another Western city. At this particular point in time, based on all of the circumstances that were before the board, this was decided for all the reasons we've articulated. This was the appropriate response now. Are we obviously aware of the interest and capabilities both of Quebec City and Quebecor? The answer is absolutely yes. They're on our radar screen for another time, perhaps, another day, perhaps, when circumstances may allow.
Hey, Gary, right in front of you.
Oh, thanks.
Will fans be able to wager on games played in Las Vegas, and what's that process
Well,
like?
the gambling issue, and I was fascinated to see an official of the Gambling Association talk about what a bellwether day this is. I don't view it in that respect. As everybody knows, compared to, say, basketball or football, our game is less susceptible to gambling, which is why we're a very small percent of the book, the take, Las Vegas and everywhere. We don't worry about the integrity of our game. I'm more focused on the atmosphere in the arena, and that's something we'll make sure we're comfortable with going forward. While we know gambling is part of industry in Las Vegas, we're not going to make it all that easy for you to pick up a ticket on the way in, a gambling ticket on your way into the arena. We like the atmosphere in our 30 buildings, and we believe that at the T-Mobile Arena, we can maintain that atmosphere consistent with what the realities are here.
Gentlemen, Marc Defoy from Le Journal de Montréal. I'm sure that you're thinking about, I'm having a question for Quebec City. We all understand about the fluctuation of the dollar, Canadian dollar. It's a big problem, and it might be a problem forever because the economy, we never know about the economy. But how about the market of Quebec City? I remember Mr. Jacobs at the start of the process saying that Quebec is an extraordinary small market. He did say that on record. What is your feeling about that? There were the numbers about in the presentation of Quebec City. How can we expect Quebec to have a team in the future if the dollar still fluctuate like it will always be? And it looks like the league is considering Quebec as a real small market. Well, that's what I heard from somebody from the NHL last week.
Well, I'm not sure that I heard the same thing you did, but that's not the point. We know there are a lot of passionate hockey fans in Quebec City. As I indicated in my remarks, there are a whole host of issues that went into the determination that there should be one team now, and it needed to be a team in the West. Las Vegas fit the bill, but we are impressed by the application that was put forward by Quebecor on behalf of Quebec City, and that's why the application wasn't rejected, it was deferred, at least for the time being. Would you like to
I
add to
mean,
that?
there's no doubt that Quebec City is a relatively small market, but in the same sense, Las Vegas is a relatively small market for us. So it is a factor that is considered, but it's certainly not the sole and exclusive factor. And we have other small markets who've been very successful, both on the ice and from a business standpoint. So that's not a gating factor.
Thank you.
On another question about Quebec City, is there any worry about, I don't know, potentially alienating NHL fans there to some degree, or maybe businesses that would want to get into this? And also there's this sort of line of thinking that it's a potential relocation spot to some degree. Is that at all, was that discussed in any way?
There are no teams in the NHL that are planning on relocation, so that's not something that anybody should be counting on or focusing on. We know there are great hockey fans in Quebec City. We weren't responsible for the team leaving 20 years ago, and we hope that the great hockey fans in Quebec City stay great hockey fans. Losing a team is always difficult, and getting a team back is probably even more difficult, but not impossible, as we've seen in other situations. Anybody else? Bill, why don't you come back up? The floor is yours. Thank you, everyone.